So we really appreciate you doing this. We have a really, really packed meeting tonight with a lot of fantastic speakers and services for your students with autism. So, and I know people are going to start coming in, but I'd like to go ahead and get started if we can. And I want to introduce James Jackson, who's with Counselor Presley, and he's going to speak to you about a hearing that's coming up of interest to you. Come on up. Yeah.
Nice, get me on camera. All
Yep.
right, great. All right, good evening, everyone. Hope everyone had a great day despite the cold weather and snow. However, I just wanted to come and stop by and let you guys know Counselor Presley is sponsoring a hearing for transitional services throughout. Sorry about that. Throughout Boston Public Schools, and so what this means is transitional services, as most of you may know, are for students 14 through age 22, if I'm correct. And this is just a hearing and session. We're inviting you guys to come down and testify and be officially on the record to reevaluate some of this process, as well as figure out how we can best facilitate and extend the services that are necessary and needed for our students. So we invite you all to come, of course, and please, if you would like you all to testify, go on the record, as we do need support for this hearing matter. And if we can be of any services or any help, please feel free to reach out and call the office. We do work in SAIC in partnership with the SpedPac, and we're more than welcome to help in any matter. So if anyone has any questions, I'd be more than willing to help out or answer anything. No, this is no nothing. See, we never get this at City Hall. We've always got like people chasing us with like 3 or 4 questions. But
you can give them the phone number and stuff like that. We'll put it online.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah, so feel free to reach out. So I am the Counselor's Direct Boston Public Schools liaison, as well as the liaison to SpedPac, so feel free to reach out to me directly. My direct line in the office is 617-635-4219, and then simple email, just james.jackson@boston.gov. With it, anything else? No?
Can I just clarify what kind of testimony are you asking for? Individual?
So more so regarding your experiences with transitional services, or your students, being provided the necessary services. How can we improve that process? How can we improve transitional services throughout the city? And I do know that Counselor is currently advocating and prioritizing transitional services throughout the budget process coming up this spring. Yeah.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Any other questions? No?
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you guys so much for the work that you guys do and for advocating for the students of Boston Public Schools, so thank you.
Okay, and next we have Michelle Maffeo, who's here with Boston Police Department and North Star, and it's the personal security device for students who benefit from it. Exactly, so she's going to tell you all.
Hello. I'm Michelle Maffeo. I'm an officer with the Boston Police Department, and I run the North Star Personal Alert Program. North Star Personal Alert actually does sometimes get confused with LoJack. LoJack is an actual device that is placed on an individual that does need tracking, like if they are they an active wanderer. But we also have something that's, and LoJack is separate, that's a private company. We do the tracking, but you'd have to seek that yourself. North Star is free and voluntary for citizens of Boston, and it's a program that's designed for individuals with autism or developmental disability that may cause communication difficulties, nonverbal, safety skills, or are an active wanderer. And what we do is we ask you guys to fill out a registration form, and we ask everything, all the basics, of course, your the description of the individual, as well as where they go to school, the addresses and stuff like that. But we also ask, how do they communicate? We ask sensory issues. Are there any sensory issues? Are there any, what else do we ask? We ask a lot. Just anything like a snapshot of your child. We also use it for Alzheimer's and dementia as well for that active wanderer. But do they have an accurate sense of danger? Should they be out by themselves? Who are they out in the community with? Just different things. We just want to, there's a narrative piece that you guys can fill in So we just kind of get a snapshot of your child. If we have to interact with them for any way, we want to make sure we're in there to de-escalate and not escalate. So different things about turning off our lights and sirens if we show up, whatever it may be. It's just basically giving us a snapshot and kind of telling us how should we, interact with your loved one, basically. So, trying to be quick. What else do we ask? Just different things like, do they use PECs? Is it an iPad? Calming measures is huge. That's one thing that, we ask for calming measures is basically because a lot of times if we're showing up, most likely it's because something was escalated. Is there anything, they may be in a situation, is there anything that we can bring to the table, even by having an officer, most likely, who has, an iPhone or, whatever, can he give the phone over and that may instantly calm him down? Like, or can they talk the Red Sox? Can they talk something? Whatever, we just like to have that stuff on hand. And then any atypical behaviors, because we, we do have autism awareness training in the police department. It was made mandatory a couple of years ago. And we, one thing that we teach is that we don't want the officers to stop what that, the stemming, because we know, they do that because it's, it's calming them down. Unless it's injurious to themselves or others, let it be. So we kind of want to know that. We don't want to stop behaviors that, if that's keeping them calm, and as long as it's not injurious, we're good to go, right? Other things we ask is specific locations where that individual may run to. Because 9 times out of 10, if you've got to call 911 because your child left, wanted, we know it's not a bad behavior because this is just a typical trait that goes along with autism and, other similar disabilities. But it's a very stressful time for you to call 911. I know, it's happened. So we have most likely 80% of that information that we might already need. We have we take a photo that we want updated continuously. We have the information of you're telling us, different locations of where they might run, what they might be attracted to. So we have a lot of that information. So when we arrive, although it is very stressful for you, we might have a lot of that information that we already need to go out and to look or interact with your child. Like I said, it's not just for kids with autism. It does go up, with the other disabilities as well as Alzheimer's and dementia, and we do take the photo. I told you we also do the autism awareness training. All the officers had to take it. It was mandatory and that was completed, and we still currently go into the recruit classes as well. And I don't know, some of your children may have, if they're already in the Boston Public Schools, we also do first responder days, where we have gone to different locations and we bring out fire, EMS, and of course the police. And we just want the kids to interact with us in a non-emergency situation so they get more comfortable with us. If they do need our help to, come up and ask, or not ask, but, just to be able to interact with us and not be nervous by us. Because a lot of times the uniforms, even the fire uniforms, we all have our firefighters, but they can be scary uniforms sometimes. We want them to feel comfortable. So we do that at several different schools. I think the next one we're doing is at the Mad Hunt in April. But that's kind of the gist of it. Does anybody have any questions regarding it? No? Okay. So if you're interested, the registration form and the brochures are up front. You can contact me in the brochure. There's a phone number in there that has that would go directly to me, or an email address. You can fill it out. I usually go to the homes and or the schools, whatever is more convenient for you. I've worked with a lot of the schools, so the schools don't have an issue with me going in to get the picture. But I have to have this first. I won't go anywhere without this first.
Michelle,
Yes.
how many kids do you have at or profiles?
Currently, I would say it's about 110, 115, which is good. And it does coincide with, LoJack, when you said device, is different. So this isn't tracking. This is for informational purposes. I really do encourage you to have, to register your loved one, because you do want the officers to know, what's going on. And if we can help, we want to help appropriately. We don't want to, go in there and, like I said before, escalate. So this is non-tracking. Tracking is LoJack. We do have that in the city, and you can contact them, and the officers do the tracking. But it's that's an actual device that they wear. It's like a bracelet or an anklet. So. Yes.
Just out of curiosity, does your form ask about allergies?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. Yes. And then there's also in there, you know, kind of like a free narrative, like whatever you want to write in there. You know, what you specifically want your first responders to know. It's currently not, it's currently just on the Boston Police, like our CAD system, our computer system, but we are trying to make it where it is going to be shared because it's information that needs to be shared with, you know, fire and EMS as well, but it's kind of computer difficulties in that aspect, but we're trying. That's it. Any questions? All right.
And next we have Dr. Michelle Novelli from Boston University, who's here to tell you about a new study that BU is doing, and she's heading up, that I think will be very helpful for our families, and we're really excited to participate with you.
Thanks, Kristen. Although I'm at Boston University, I think it's important to know that I was on the board of SpedPac, and I am a Boston Public School parent of 9 children. A couple have graduated, and I do have 2 sons with autism. One is in a substantially separate classroom, so I have a long history with BPS. Sorry, John.
All the directions.
Where do you want me?
Right there.
Okay, I have a long history with BPS. I have a long history with SpedPac, and right now I'm doing a study. I'll be back again. This is sort of the beginning piece of it, because right now we're getting our funding, and I wanted to bring it to SpedPac amongst other places, because what we're doing, just like Ayanna Presley's talking about, transitional services. And so some of you may have kids that are much younger, but what we're going to do is we're looking at the 14 to 22-year-old group, but we are looking at immigrant families. And by immigrant families, we mean anyone who was born outside of the United States, because we want to understand better what barriers these families might be facing as they participate in the process of transition. We want to know about language. We want to know what kind of participation. We're going to be doing a series of qualitative interviews. And so I'm bringing this to you because even in my son's classroom, a substantially separate high school classroom, there are 5 kids whose parents were born outside the U.S. So what we're going to be doing is ultimately hoping that 10 to 15 families who have kids between the ages of 14 and 22 who are born outside the U.S. will decide that they want to participate in our study. But then we're also going to be looking for another 10 families who the parent, caregiver, guardian was born in the United States, because we want to do some comparison. And we're really trying to, in conjunction with SpedPac, TIL is also supporting our study. Obviously, Boston University is supporting the study. We want to start really making very transparent and explicit what's going on with transitional services, because some of you may have kids that are older. I've got the whole range. But for my son that's in high school, when you begin to sit down in those IEP meetings, when your child is 14 years old, and you come up with a vision statement, some of you may have found that the vision statement was actually what you wanted, what your child wanted, and everyone felt really good. But oftentimes you leave and you're not really sure what this is all about. And I'll just use my own son as an example. His vision statement is that he wants to be a principal. And everybody's like, oh, that's awesome, you want to be a principal, that's fantastic. And I mean, that's great, but that's actually not sort of the reality of what's going to happen over these next couple of years. And so I don't want his vision statement to be through the process that he's going to be a principal, and we're not working on other things like where is he going to live, what about vocational training, what about all of the other things that will make him safe, that will make him feel productive, that will make him feel integrated into the community. Because as it is right now, kids turn 22 and then that's their last day of school. So it doesn't matter if that's October, if that's March, or if that's June. That's a pretty scary thing for me to think about. On March 9th, he'll just be out of school when he turns 22. So we want to understand this from the perspective of people. English isn't a first language, what the experience is like for these families, and we also want to include families who were born here. So I'm here tonight because interviewing is not going to begin until September. So as long as SpedPac will have me come back, wanted to be here tonight, talk about it, because tonight we're talking about autism and different services. Probably come back in May. I left a sign-up sheet if you just feel like I can contact you in the future. Talk about it in May, and then start to get our sample together and begin interviewing in September. The end of next year, the next academic year, is when we'll begin to disseminate the reports and bring back the information to you. So if you're interested, they all have Kristen, John, they have my contact information. I've left a sheet. If you have anything that you just want to add because transitional services are important to you when you think about your child with autism, even if you're not part of the study, although I hope you will be, if you're not part of the study, please feel free to kind of just contact me, share your thoughts, because this is really important to us. And we're really, really excited about the support that we've got in the community, and we're really excited to start meeting families. Should you choose to participate, it would be 2 interviews. 2 interviews lasting, we made a wide kind of range because we know if your child is at home and your child does not want you to participate at that point, we'd have to come back another day. So 2 interviews, probably an hour and a half each, will compensate people. And again, it will be confidential. We'll know who you are, but when the final reports and articles are generated, your name, everything will be de-identified. So just wanted to throw that out now. I'll be back in a couple of months. And again, I look forward to hearing from any of you who might want to participate in this study. So thank you very much for your time. Thanks.
Awesome. Yeah, we're excited to be part of that study. All right, so next we have the Boston Medical Center's Autism Program, which I know many of you are familiar with. They have a fantastic program. Everyone there is great. But they wanted to come and tell you a little bit about their program.
Thank you. You want us over here? Yeah.
Right in front of that light, too. Great. Thank you, guys.
Hi, everyone. I am Sherry King from, as Kristen mentioned, the BMC Autism Program, and I have the pleasure of bringing along 2 of my esteemed colleagues who are interning with our program this semester and working very diligently on a lot of resources that we're going to tell you something about. So for those of you who we don't know, well, actually, by a show of hands, how many of you have kids who get their care at BMC in developmental pediatrics?
Does it count if it's like sub-care?
Yeah, I was just a starter care. Okay, so actually, not terribly many of you. So for those whose children do come to BMC, we would hope to know you in the sense that we try to work very closely with our families and make sure that as children are getting diagnosed, as they're being followed, that they are getting access to all the right resources and getting all the right connections made, especially around education and therapy. But since so many of you aren't actually at BMC, what I want to tell you mostly about are the resources that we have that really are for the public. We have a website that is the bmcautismprogram.com and .org, and actually there's a flyer outside that gives all of this information, where we have a lot of resources that we've developed for families and actually pulled together. Some of it is just plain information, so kind of things to know about autism and how it's treated and how the special ed process worked, and of course a lot of things that you guys already know, but perhaps some others that you don't. We have manuals that we've worked with colleagues across different institutions, like other hospitals, Children's, and the Lurie Center at MGH, and Tufts, and UMass, and have put together information that kind of describes different processes and different resources that are available to families. So on our website alone is a lot of information. We also have a big kind of social media presence, or we like to think of it as big. We have a Facebook page that if you were to like, if you're a Facebook user, you would get to see all of our regular posts, many of which are done by fine interns, such as these 2. We put out a lot of new resources, and those are always posted on our Facebook page. We have cool contests where there are giveaways. We recently had a Halloween contest, and there were a lot of very, very cute contestants, one of whom walked away with a $25 Amazon gift card. So we really, you know, and we're sort of constantly trying to find ways to meet needs around questions and around issues that families are facing. So Facebook would be another thing to check out. You could see, again, on the flyer that we've left in the front, how you would connect with us on Facebook. We also have Twitter. I don't personally. Lauren here are going to talk to you about some of the specific projects that we're working on right now, and then I want to talk about something additionally beyond that.
So I'm Lindsay, and I just wanted to tell you guys a little bit about an example of a resource that we're working on. So even though it doesn't seem like it, summer is right around the corner, and what we've been working on is our summer guide. So we know that there's a lot of information and a lot of options out there for different summer camps and different summer programs, but maybe you haven't found the summer program that's the best fit for your child yet. So what we've been working on is we've been trying to kind of sift through that information for you guys to put together this resource guide. And what we've come up with is what we think is a really great list of some summer camp organizations that specialize in different age groups, different needs, and things of that sort. And we also offer a lot of information on different options for financial assistance that you can get for some of these programs. And maybe if summer camp isn't in the cards for this summer, then we also have a list of some really great family fun activities in and around Boston, and also a list of some sensory activities that you can do at home with your kids. So we think it's going to be a really great resource. It should be coming out in the next few weeks, early March. So if you guys are interested in receiving our summer guide among our many other resources, I think we're going to be passing around an email list at the end of our session. Yeah.
It's going to be, it's also on the table.
Yeah, so just go ahead and add your email to that list, and you can expect that in early March.
And if email does not work for you and you want to leave your address, that's totally fine by us. Just put that on the list as well.
And I'm Lauren. I'm here to tell you about our 3rd annual Autism Awareness Day. It'll be on Thursday, April 2nd from 1 to 4 p.m. at BMC in the Shapiro Center. Some people that are here today talking will be there. So it's a really great resource fair, networking event. We're going to have the North Star program from the Boston Police Department, TIL, the Autism Support Center, Boys and Girls Club, and the Autism Insurance Resource Center. So there's no RSV required. Everyone can come. Kids are welcome. There'll be some activities for them as well.
Yeah, and it's kind of a nice time to get to talk to people one-on-one. So we know the world of making phone calls and waiting for calls back and, you know, being very busy and not having a lot of time. So what we like to do is put this together as a way, of course it would have to work for you that day, but 1 to 4 hopefully in that time frame would work for many. And just as an opportunity to get to go and talk to people one-on-one and find out all the different good things that are going on that you might not be aware of. So those are a couple of things. Then the last thought that I wanted to leave you with, and it's sort of on topic with our previous speaker actually, is that we're launching an initiative which we're calling Autismo Boston, and it's a Latino outreach initiative. It's really to deepen the resources that are available to Spanish-speaking families. So what we've begun to do in-house already is translate many of our resources into Spanish, but what we're trying to do is really assess the needs of families and figure out ways that we can help to deliver that. So what we're looking for is if anybody is of Latino descent, Spanish speaking, would like to participate in this process with us and help us to sort of think about this need. We wouldn't ask very much of you. Often we like to bring people together and give them food and treat them nicely and just kind of pick your brains. We would ask you to also just put a little check on the sheet outside with your email and your address and whatever other great information you want to leave for us that just says that you'd want to be contacted for this reason. So that, I think, is it. Just a very, very brief summary of who we are and what we do, and hopefully we can get to know each other. So while we're at BMC, and many of you may not be there with your kids, please do feel free to reach out to us and to become a friend.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we'll put their information on our website, and we can send it out by email as well, so you have everything. So next up, we have Nicholas Andolfo from TIL, Toward Independent Living and Learning, which many of you know about. They're a phenomenal resource here in Boston. So Nicholas is going to talk to you about that. Thanks.
So there was a flyer that I had put out there with information on it. Based on what other people are talking about, I feel like I'm going to probably give you more information than what is on that flyer. because I thought the topic was supposed to be geared towards ABA. So are any of you registered with TIL's Autism Support Center? Okay, great. If you're not, I have out there registration intake forms for you to fill out. So a little snapshot about the Autism Support Center. If you are living in the Metro Boston area and you have a child with autism, that is your support center. If you are registered with our support center, you are eligible for all of our free support center events. You are eligible for our neighborhood groups. So we haven't been doing too much now because of the weather, but when the spring comes and the summer comes, we do things like go to the aquarium, we go to the circus, we have a TIL field day in the Boston Common. There's tons of events, and I want to say 90% of those events are free. So if you are not registered, I cannot urge you enough to register. And on that sheet, it also asks some questions about some other supports that you might be looking for. TIL does offer PCA. TIL does offer in-home behavioral supports. Those are not part of the Autism Support Center. So if that is something you are looking for, you can let me know, and I will put you in contact with the appropriate department at TIL. A lot of people think that just because they fill out the intake form, that somebody is going to contact them about other supports. That's not really the way it works, unfortunately. So just let me know, and I will put you in contact with the appropriate people. But again, I cannot urge you enough to register with TIL's Autism Support Center. So what I had prepared here was more of an overview about the ABA. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the Massachusetts Autism Waiver. If you have children who are on that, has anybody applied for that? And not? It looks like you haven't. You haven't gotten it.
She receives it. She's receiving that at school right now. ABA.
Oh, okay. No, I've
something outside. It's not the same thing.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Okay.
So as of right now, private insurance is not paying for ABA. So if your child is receiving services under the Massachusetts Autism Waiver, you are getting ABA paid for by DDS by the waiver, but you're not. Your Mass Health will not pay for ABA services. That apparently is going to change. I've heard since the summer that they're going to start taking private insurance to pay for ABA. So once that does happen, TIL will be providing ABA services. We are currently building our ABA program. We are hiring consultants to come work with us and sort of build it from the ground up so that when private insurance is accepted, we will have at least somewhat of a program to start working with. So there's that. And it was requested that I talk a little bit about programs for young adults and teens. This is a little bit beyond my understanding because I work with the 3 to 9 age for the autism waiver. And again, I'm literally going to be reading these off of here because my boss wrote these down for me. So there is a social skills in the city. I have been present for a few of those sessions. The way that works is their real life skills in real life situations. So I don't know, I think it's like ages like 13 to like 19. We will meet somewhere in Boston and we will work on things like, how to ride the T. We will go to a place like Pinkberry and the teens will make their ice cream and pay for it. Things like that, like real life situations. It's actually really good. We had a really good, obviously we're not really doing it now with the weather, but in the spring and the summer it's going to kick back up. So if you are interested in that and you have a child with autism who is in that age group, there is a person's email address that you can contact for that. And my email is at the top. You can also contact me with any questions, and if I don't know the answer, then I can get it for you. I also there should have been 2 stacks for me, and there were 1. So the bottom part of that are the intake forms.
Sorry. If anybody wants an intake form,
yeah.
let me know. Sorry.
I got a little eager with my paper putting down. That's very good. Everyone's hand should be up. It's free stuff. Autism Support Center. It's free stuff.
I love Till.
We have holiday parties too. We have,
I mean, they have the best. I went apple picking with you guys.
Oh, all right. I didn't go to that.
I always go by myself. I met Joshua, and I met it. Somebody like gave me the information, and I always go. You know, things changed a little over the years because, you know, it's kind of, you know, but I love you guys. Like, you guys go from a little...
Warms my heart.
No, but really, it's fun. Like, you know, it's fun, and I would
It is fun.
parents,
It is fun.
you know,
I mean,
come
we do a Halloween party.
we do bowling.
I mean, it's
everything.
it's awesome.
It's really fun. You go, please. You don't have to do it. They hate me.
You have to go now. You're like guilted into it.
We went apple picking, but it was really good.
So a few other things that are on here. There's something called Friday Night Club. This is something that I am not familiar with at all. But apparently it meets every other Friday at either Harvard, BU, or MIT. And there's undergrad volunteers who work with teens with special needs. They hang out, they play games, they'll watch movies, they'll have snacks, things like that. So that sounds like something.
John's daughter actually does.
Yeah, and usually it's every Friday. They try to make it, but their schedule gets altered in the springtime more than it does in the fall because of their exam schedules like that. So they have a schedule that's online. We actually have a page on our website in the library for FNC.
Perfect.
And yeah, so it's a mixture of BU, Harvard, and MIT, and they rotate around. They've done things like they're trying to go to the Museum of Science as a group. They've had I think Winter Carnival, game night, sports night. They've done computer stuff, so they want to get a little technical or not. So they had a great holiday party. They built, they originally get to build their own gingerbread house. So, and it's free, and it's an amazing program, and I recommend everybody please try to go because it's a great way to reach out. And some of these kids get to see what a campus, a world-class campus is, and they just walk around and like amazed. It's so cool.
What are the ages, John?
My daughter's 12, so I would say anybody at that point, if you want to, reach out to them. On the website is their email address and their
email address is on your
Facebook
page.
page. Yeah. And I would just pose the question because they might say, "Why don't you just come and find out?" And it depends on the activity too. They just did ice skating last Friday, so we'll try to put that out on our emails as well and give them promise. But it's a great program as well as Beyond the Spectrum at the MFA on the first Saturday of the month. Thank you.
I mean, if only it could always work that way, where you don't know enough about something, and there's someone who just walks up and who knows everything.
It's the story of my life.
I mean, I don't hate it. So the only other thing that was on here is something called the MIT Best Buddies. Is similar to the Friday Night Club, but all participants are paired with a one-on-one buddy. And I feel like they deserve an expert in the room on the Best Buddies. Are you serious?
My son goes to the MIT Best Buddies thing, and they coordinate some of the Friday night stuff as well. So you see a lot of overlap between the groups. But it's very, very supportive. The kids that run it are at MIT, Harvard, and BU, and it's a very consistent set of people. They get to know the kids quite well, and there's usually at least a 1-to-1 adult to student ratio. And sometimes it's higher depending upon what they do. And a remarkable thing about the program and how the college kids interact with our kids is they show a tremendous amount of sensitivity and finesse. So they're not sitting there going, "Hey, come on, let's go play Jenga together." You know, if your kid doesn't want to play Jenga and wants to sit over in the corner and throw it, that's totally cool. They will go and approach and see if they can engage them. If they don't want to, that's fine. They'll give them all the space to be by themselves or to pair or, you know, sort of parallel play if they want. And as the kids become comfortable with the situation, the students really adapt to walking in, engaging with the students at the level they're able to handle. And the amount of rapport that develops very, very quickly between the college kids and our kids, well, it's really remarkable to see. The college kids, you know, they know who's there. They see how the relationships develop, and they foster development of relationships among the kids themselves. There's a lot of, we've hooked up with some people. Philip from Miss P's class back at the Mozart is there, and Rowan was like, "Philip, come on, hey, how's it going?" Here they are 10 years later, you know, friends in kindergarten, now they're back in middle school, high school, and there they are again. So there's a lot of opportunities for your kids to engage with other kids they may have known before, or to meet new kids. But the remarkable thing is the dynamic between the college students and our students. It's pretty rare to find that out there. And these are not professional service providers at all. These are kids that care about our children and are going out of their way. They're taking Friday night. Come on, when you were in college, were you spending Friday night hanging out with autistic people? I mean, honestly, right? This is a very special group of people. And they're all there. They're there consistently. And they really put in a lot of effort. I can't recommend it highly enough.
Is there an age group?
My son is 14. I think the oldest there is a kid named Marcus. I believe he's 20. There may be one girl, a new girl there who's a little bit younger, but they're basically teenagers. If you wanted to go a little younger, you probably could.
Yeah, I think it's a great option for middle school kids. They kind of get left out. They're too old for the young stuff, and they're not old enough for the high school stuff. Right. So I'm really leveraging for the middle schools because there's just so few things for those kids to do.
Yeah, sure.
I lucked out, like, so, does anyone have any questions about anything other than Friday Night Club or MIT Best Buddies? I'd be happy to answer. If you can always ask that guy or that guy. But no, seriously, does anyone have any questions about the Autism Support Center? Yeah.
Well, what's like the process for the waiver?
The waiver did, yeah,
We're going to be talking about the, Erica, the insurance, bill. We're going to talk about that at our next meeting. I think Carolyn's going to present. She's at the superintendent. She's interviewing superintendent candidates tonight.
There's a lot of things brewing with disability law and options and savings and programs, and so we're going to try to update that. I think in the next meeting. Check the website and the emails. Trying to update a lot of things.
Yeah, I will say that we just had an open enrollment for the waiver back in October. They do an open enrollment every 12 to 14 months. So if you are registered with TIL's Autism Support Center, you'll get like 50 emails about it. You'll get like another 25 things in the mail. So you will be like dreaming about applying for the waiver. We do have you covered, but I won't get into it if they're going to be talking about stuff like that next week. But fill that out for sure. Anybody else? Yes?
Mr. Speck, you mentioned your neighborhood groups.
Yes.
Can you tell us what neighborhood you have groups active in now, or be active in the spring?
We do. We have the neighborhood groups are running now. They do not run in the summer, so they go from September to June. We have one here in Dorchester on the third Thursday of every month at the Grove Hall Library. So the way it works is there's usually, I want to say 9 times out of 10, a topic, a presenter who will facilitate a workshop or give a presentation on something. And while this is happening, the children will go into the library with myself and about 3 or 4 other people from TIL, and the kids can just hang out and use the computers and play games while the parents engage in whatever it is being presented.
What other city neighborhoods do you have active groups in?
We have one in East Boston, we have one in Chelsea, we have one in Hyde Park. I'm positive that there are probably a few others. But that I'm not really aware. I primarily work within the waiver, so the neighborhood groups. The Autism Services coordinator, who's my boss, Josh, could not make it here tonight, so he would be the perfect one to ask that question to. But you're stuck with me. So off the top of my head, those are the groups that. Is there a particular area that you were thinking?
Well,
you were wondering?
You make a plan, for example, so I'm just curious. But
you know, I don't know if we have. I feel like I would know if we had one. I don't think we do. It doesn't take much to start up. I mean, all of these neighborhood groups get started from parents who want to start a group in that area. So, do you go to? Like, I see you nodding your head.
Well, I try to go to the Dorchester one. Long story about that one, but I'm able to go down. I worked a lot of lights for so long
Have we met before?
No, I know Joshua. I've probably seen you before.
Okay, because I go to most of the Dorchester neighborhood.
I don't want to make the other person look bad, but when I called, just never called me back. So that was my issue. They didn't call me back for me to like register or something.
Oh, yeah. So all of your contacts for these neighborhood groups are parents. So they're not Till employees. They're parents who wanted to start the group. They're we call them lead parents. So we send out a newsletter every month. All right, we try to send out a newsletter every month. And
you guys send it every month.
They come every month.
Yeah, you guys send it. You send it every month.
I stuff those envelopes personally. But on the back of the newsletter, there's always a list of all the neighborhood groups and an email address and a phone number to call. That email address is almost always going to be a parent and the phone number would be the same. So again, if you register with our support center, you will get our newsletter every month. And all of the neighborhood group information is on there. But you can always, yes?
Can we fill out a form and give it to you tonight?
If you do it in like the next 2.5 minutes, maybe. No, yeah, you can. I commute in from Providence, so I am probably going to be taking off. But you, sir, I will wait for your form, and I will take that with me.
Can they fill it out online?
We were talking about doing it online for a while, but I don't think that ever kind of got up and running. Do you get our?
I've just recently got in touch with Joshua, so I haven't gotten.
Okay, that probably because it didn't go through. I don't know. I am in charge of all of the autism database entries. So if there is something that's up and running online, nobody from Till told me because I'm not checking it. So if you did it online, chances are I didn't get it and you're not in the database. So yeah, yes.
What time would the Thursday support group start?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't even say that. Dinner is served at 5:30. It's usually just like pizza, chips, and like water and juice. And then the presentation or workshop will start at 6. And go till about 7:15. Yeah, I mean it's pretty quick, depending on how many parents show up, how engaging the presentation is. Sometimes it will go a little longer. So, are you interested in?
I am.
Well, I look forward to seeing you there.
She's coming back like in a couple months, but she couldn't even finish her presentation.
This is in Dorchester?
Yeah, the one at the
Oh, so you go to our?
when I came back.
Yeah. See, the turnout varies. Sometimes we have like 10, 15 families. Sometimes we have like 2. But the more the merrier. Because they always send the extra pizza home with us, and like I can't be having that in my fridge. So.
I'm coming to the next one.
Any other questions? Okay, well, I look forward to getting all of your intake forms not filled out online, but you can fax it in, you can scan it and email it to me. You can like snap a picture with the cam scanner on your cameras and send it that way. That's fine.
I have correspondence.
Or you can get someone to put it online.
I mean, does that still not qualify as an intake? I mean, he's sending me information.
If you are not in our database, that's where I print the labels to send the newsletters. So if you're not in the database, then I'm not printing a label for you, and you wouldn't be on our mailing list. So that's really, I mean, we have like, we're sending out about 350, 400 like newsletters every month. So
I think I strictly just get emails now, like not the.
Did you move?
No.
That's weird. A lot of times we don't update the addresses.
Emails now instead of physical mail.
Well, I do send them physical mail, so there might be an issue with your address. If that's a problem, we can. Oh, okay. Well, you shoot me an email if you want with your address, and I can check it out and see. Yes. Oh yeah.
Thank you. If anybody has intake forms, I can take it.
I used to receive letters like you sent out, and I haven't received them in the last year. And I used to get them faithfully. My address is still the same. And I dealt with Josh, and I have him give emails, but not, I think, in the last year.
Nicholas, thank you so much.
Well, I really don't know either. I would say shoot me an email. My email address is on there, on nicholas.andolfo, and just say like, hey, I talked to you the other night. This is my address. Can you double check? And I'll take care of it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you coming out. We've been waiting a very long time. Kathy Boyle is here from Autism Housing Pathways, and she's here to talk to us about that. Thank you so much for coming tonight and waiting. And I'm going to hand out. You want to hand out? Okay. I got it. Okay.
So,
Can you walk over this one?
Boyle, and I'm the president of Autism Housing Pathways, and we are a group that is run by families and for families. We started out as a group of families about 5 years ago now that was interested in creating a house for our children who were going to be aging out of Neshoba Learning Group. And we had a bunch of meetings, and we did some visioning, and we brought speakers in. And then we did a person-centered planning process to try to find our housing vision. And what we realized was that we had a lot of things in common, but that our kids were different ages, were different levels of functioning, lived in different areas. You've got the, oh, I'd love to do that, but I won't go east of 128. I love that, but I won't go south of the Pike. I love, you know. So what we decided at that point was that, first of all, we needed a bigger group of people if we were going to do any houses at all. But beyond that, any group of people that was going to get together to try to do housing was going to have to do the same research, because it was all the same pools of money, the same federal and state programs and so forth and so on, and it didn't make sense for every group of families to have to do all the same research all over again. So maybe what we really needed was an umbrella group around housing. And that's what we did, and that's what Autism Housing Pathways does. We basically have 4 goals. The first of which is to educate families about what housing options exist, and possibly to try to explore some new housing options into existence that aren't currently out there. The second is to work with service providers to improve the quality of direct support staff working with adults, which is not great, because frankly, all you need to work in a group home in the state of Massachusetts right now is a clean Cory check, a driver's license, and a GED. And the only training the state requires of you once you're hired is CPR, first aid, med administration, and fire safety. You do not have to know anything about disabilities whatsoever. That's the second area we're working on. The third, we do research on autism housing needs in the state, and you know, report back to state entities about what's missing, what needs to come into existence to create more options. And then lastly, the one that is more hypothetical at this point is working with the housing sector in general to improve their ability to interact with people with autism. Specifically, you should probably have something in front of you that says Autism Housing Pathways offers. And what we try to do is we try to run people through, first of all, the Turning 18 checklist, which is also being handed out. And this is the list of things you need to do when your child is about to turn 18 or has just turned 18. And on the back side is the links online of how you do that. So we try to get that Turning 18 checklist in front of people, and we try to get people through a 2-hour workshop called Thinking About Housing, which we will take anywhere in the state and do for free. That is a basic introduction to housing, and we've done it for Till for their Thursday night. In fact, they had so many questions, I'm going back in 2 months to do the second half of it because we weren't able to do the presentation. Good. That's good to hear. And then we also have a day-long housing workshop, which is when you're really ready to roll your sleeves up and try to create housing. Most of what we do is free. The Daewon workshop is technically free, but we suggest a $35 donation because that just helps us pay for the, in that Daewon workshop, we're working through a 130-page manual. So, that just helps us pay for the photocopying costs and some of the refreshments and whatnot. But if you do pay that $35, you also become a member of Autism Housing Pathways for a year. We will speak to families over the phone about your own situation. The one thing I always start the conversation with is I'm not a lawyer and I'm not a financial planner, so nothing I say can be construed as legal or financial advice. But I can give you some idea of which way the wind is blowing. We also offer person-centered planning, and that's a process where there's a pre-meeting to discuss the process, talk about what it looks like, who you might want to be there, and then 6 or 8 weeks later, you do a full-blown 2 to 3 hour process with the person with the disability, their family, everyone who works with them, who has come to this to try to figure out a vision for that person's future. And it's very different from what the state does, because what the state does is similar to the IEP process. They're only talking about what they can fund. Whereas this is, what's your vision? We're going to worry about how to get there, but let's start with the vision. Before we just start by saying you can't do anything, let's start with what you would like to see happen. And then a few months later, there's a follow-up meeting. The person-centered planning we do have to charge for. It is not cheap. This year we were able to get grant money to do 12 of them. I'm hoping that going forward we may be able to get some grant money in the future to do a number of them pro bono every year. We have on our website, we have a housing opportunities bulletin board, which is not as robust yet as I would like it to be in terms of, and then finally, the other handout you've got is something called Things to Look For in Adult Service Provider.
That's the one that's coming around
That's
now.
the one that's coming around
The staff
now.
training one we didn't give out.
Yeah, the staff training one there weren't enough of, but the Things to Look For in an Adult Services Provider, adulthood is a different world, people. Things that you just take for granted by the time your kid is 17 or 18 in a school program, don't assume that an adult provider is going to be doing. Don't assume that adult staff even has a clue about first this, then that, because they don't. They've never heard of first this, then that. They've never heard of using pictures. They've never heard of using schedules. This is all the brave new world to them. So you need to go in and ask very pointed questions about, what is your staff trained to do? What does it look like, in a house that your agency runs? And this is what my child needs, and how will you go about doing it? And I know if you don't have the training, there's this staff training hierarchy. The truth of the matter is there are 110 adult agencies that run group homes in the state. I would say that as of today, maybe 5 of them are marginally competent to deal with adults with autism. Maybe. And the truth of the matter is that we can't send every adult in the state to those 5 agencies. We've got to bring the other 105 up the learning curve somehow. And one of the ways that we can do that is to empower parents to go forth and say, look, this is what we need. So that's the basics of who we are and what we do. There are 3 ways that you can really get involved with us. We have a Yahoo group, which is free, and I've got a sign-up sheet here if you want to join the Yahoo group. And the way that works, Yahoo no longer lets me add people directly to the group. What I have to do is you sign that, and then I have Yahoo send you an email saying, do you want to be on this listserv? And then if you say yes, then you're on the listserv. We also have a Facebook page, Autism Housing Pathways. And then, of course, if you want to become a paid member, it's $35 a year. The basic thing that the $35 a year gets you is access to the members-only section of our website, which is a lot of very, very detailed, nitty-gritty stuff on housing, that closely parallels what's done in the day-long workshop, which is why if you do the suggested donation for the day-long workshop, you also become a member. So, and that's it. And any questions? Oh, and we're having a day-long workshop in Framingham on March 28th, and there's still some slots left in that. Yes?
What can you tell us about given what you just said about the agencies and how many of them are really competent, and the total lack of licensing or educational requirements for staffers, really? You obviously said, one way is parent empowerment from the agency demand. Is there anything happening on the political front in terms of regulation or legislation
That's
that
a
we
really
might want to know about or might be able to advocate for?
It's in the very early stages. There are some rumblings about, that it's coming from some people in the provider community saying to the state, look, you really need to look at requiring some kind of training, autism-specific training for people who are going to work with people with autism, because otherwise it's just not going to happen. There is the Association of Developmental Disabilities Providers, which is the trade group for these service providers, has for the first time formed a committee on autism training, and it's actually going to start meeting in March. So this is it's very, very early days yet in terms of getting things to where they need to be. But when I think about it, my son is going to be 24 this summer, and when he was 3, these schools in my town had no clue what to do with him, and right behind him, all the way through, all of these classrooms and models kept appearing about a year behind him, so that he was never in them, but because he was there, these came along. And the same thing is starting to happen in adult services. There are, 3, 4, 5 years ago, other than Amigo, which was the only agency in the state which only does autism, you would talk to providers and you'd talk to DDS and they'd say, oh, we don't do autism-specific homes. We believe in cross-disability. And, I think they're starting to realize that for some people that just doesn't work very well. But it's very early days yet, is the answer to your question.
Thank you so much, Kathy. We really thank you. And so tonight we also have our district, Boston Public Schools, the ABA program directors are here, and they're going to talk a little bit about what's new there. And we have so it's Kylan McCormick and Zachary Houston.
I'm Kylan McCormick. I'm one of the program directors for ABA, and Zach, who's figuring out getting our PowerPoint up, is one of the other program directors. We just wanted to give a quick overview of what ABA services look like in the district right now, and I'll just kind of jump into it as that's coming up and running. But basically, right now, our structure, we've modified the structure of our services over the last several years. For those of you who have been in the district for a while are probably somewhat familiar with that. Currently, we are in 75 schools in the district, and we service 629 students with either direct or consultative services, ABA services in their IEP grids.
I can't do it. Oh, down there.
What'd you do?
Oh, no, I broke.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
You just don't use the mouse, just use the arrows, okay? There you go.
Okay, so our workforce is made up of kind of 2 different buckets. The first is our internal workforce, and then we have our contracted partners. So with our internal workforce, we have 7 program directors. We're all BCBAs. We are based in the schools, and we oversee our internal service providers. So we have 90 ABA specialists who are Boston Public School employees, and they provide the direct services to the students. We also have a collaboration with the New England Center for Children. Jackie will talk more specifically about this after we wrap up, but basically we contract with them to utilize their Autism Curriculum Encyclopedia, which is a phenomenal tool, and we're very lucky to have it. As I said, Jackie will talk a little bit more about it. And then our contracted partners who will also speak to are the May Institute and RCS, and they also provide direct services and consultative services to students. So we have our internal services and our contracted services all providing direct services to the students.
So another initiative that we've been working on is really expanding our internal skills and resources that we have among our teachers, paraprofessionals, families, and parents. So we've been working with the Elms College to have, we've had 1.5 cohorts of future board-certified behavior analysts that have been produced through the Boston Public Schools. And that, of course, is primarily the teachers in the autism program. So we're having them, of course, educate themselves towards board certification as behavior analysts. We also have district-wide professional development series that we do pretty much every month. That's open to all of the educators in Boston Public Schools. Excuse me. And we also have school-based individual trainings for family members that are being offered by the individual schools. So if you want to find out more about that, of course, you'd reach out to your individual school.
So, and the school-based trainings are primarily in our schools for students with autism, in our Autism Strand schools. But that isn't to say that there aren't training opportunities going on in the other schools. We just are, most of our specific work around family training does occur in the Autism Strand schools. Another big initiative that we've been working on over the last several years is really working to promote and build consistency across our autism classrooms. For those of you who've been in the district for a while, you'll remember that for several years a student would attend one school for kindergarten and first grade, and then they'd have to transfer to another school, and then for middle school they go to another school. So now we have what we call Autism Strands, where the students are able to be enrolled in one school from K0 through 8th grade, and then they move on to high school. So one thing we're doing to help ensure that the classrooms across the district look the same, we're doing what we call structured site visits. So our program director team, our team of BCBAs, along with speech and language pathologists and occupational therapists, we visited each of the 13 schools, and we provide feedback on this checklist that we've developed. And we've seen just phenomenal results from the first visit that we've gone into the classroom to the last visit that we go into the classrooms, and it's just amazing what the teachers are able to do with the feedback and then the support to help them actually implement the strategies that we're recommending. We're in the process of revamping these characteristics for next year, and we're really basing this on research in the field as well as teacher feedback and the feedback from other professionals in the field. So we're really, really excited about this, and it's really been ultimately beneficial for our students, which is really exciting.
One of the other nice things that comes about as a result of this is the program directors are paired up and counterparted with one another. So we are drawing from each other's strengths and resources. So for example, if there's something that I'm really good at that Kylan's maybe not as good at, when we go to do her site visit, she then gets that feedback from me and vice versa. So it's bringing up those skill levels from individual BCBAs and increasing the resources that way as well. That's it. So that's all we have. Any questions for us?
This here, when did this start, or is this new?
The site visits, the structured site visits?
This here, yeah, what you talk about, the kids going from one
the
school.
stranding?
Yeah.
That's that?
A few years.
Is this the fourth, 3 to 4 years? Yeah.
I just heard about it. How come I never heard about that.
Yeah, so I mean there are the autism strands. We're in 13. Is it 13? There are 13 autism strands across the district for K0 to 8th grade.
Some of them are K0 to 5.
Some are K to 5. Yes, thank you. Some are K0 to 5, and then the student will go to another school for the middle school. But yeah.
Yep. Could you say anything about how this progress you're making on the strand level also is relevant or touching upon inclusion, kids who are in inclusion classrooms?
So the program directors are also servicing several of the inclusion schools as well as our contracted partners. And so that information as far as these optimal characteristics and the way we approach the services is of course being disseminated out to those schools as well.
And when we're in our strand classrooms, we're considering inclusion as kind of a continuum of services. So, we're ensuring that even our students who are assigned to a substantially separate classroom are provided with access to social skills curriculum or social skills training that is at their level and appropriate for them. And then, some students we do reverse inclusion, and some students will go for part of the day, even if they're not in a full inclusive, setting or classroom. Yes.
Oversight. So if we've got problems with contractors or questions or concerns, how do we handle, how do you guys handle oversight of the quality of this program? How do we as parents get our concerns addressed in a transparent paper?
So our boss is Seth Bartholomew, and he oversees us as well as the contractor. So he would be the one to kind of direct any questions, concerns around contracted services can go directly to Seth.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Okay. Well, if that's it, we can transition.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep. All right. So then now we're going to hear from Jackie from the Autism Curriculum Encyclopedia in the New England Center.
All right, so I'm going to tell you a little bit. Sorry. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Autism Curriculum Encyclopedia. We like to call that the ACE.
Give me just 1 second.
He's way better at using his computer than I am. So there's our logo. So the ACE was developed by the New England Center for Children, and we are a nonprofit school for learners diagnosed with an autism spectrum disorder. The ACE is a web-based toolkit that can be used with special educators for the means of assessing educational and self-help skills, teaching those skills, and then evaluating student progress. So the ACE really helps to increase the efficiency of teaching and the effectiveness of teaching within the classroom because it provides the special educator with a cloud-based option. So they can go to the application, find a lesson, customize it for that student, and then take data very seamlessly and then have this automated graph. So it not only saves time, but it also standardizes the procedure, so everyone that's working with your student is doing the exact same thing. Our first component is our assessment component. So we have 3 types of assessment that are available on the ACE, and you can do them in conjunction with all the other assessments that insurance may require for you. Our first one is the core skills assessment. So I think everyone in a strand classroom, for the most part, has participated in this core skill assessment. And what this does is it measures student performance directly across 52 skills that other people in the field have said were critical for daily living and for the development of higher order skills. So we can assess those, and then once we've assessed those skills, we can actually use the core skill assessment as an evaluation tool for student performance across years. We can use it as a curriculum guide to choose those skills the students don't have and then teach those skills. And then we can also use it as a program evaluation tool. So if the student's not making progress across various years, you can say, hey, what's going on? So all of the core skills link directly to our curriculum. So if a student doesn't have one of the skills on the core skill, the teacher can go right to the curriculum bank, pull that lesson off, and then start teaching immediately. So it really takes the time out of when you have assessment and then you have teaching. So here's an example of what one of the reports looks like. So along the left-hand side, right-hand side, not very good with that, are all of the skills, and they're in a loose developmental order. It is left.
They're facing the other way.
Oh. Who says you each know that they're right? Should be on there, but it's not. So along the left-hand side, I guess, is all of the skills in a loose developmental sequence across domains. And then if you look, each year that you're looking at is on the top, and then you can quickly see how the student is doing across years on that specific skill. So the light blues are 1s, and they denote that the student doesn't have that skill, and then the dark blues are the 5s, and they tell you, yes, the student has that skill, so they shouldn't be working on that in the classroom. So it's just a really quick, easy way to see how your child's doing. This is a graph
just depicting performance on one administration of the core skill to another administration of the core skill. So after systematic instruction using our curriculum, you do see that you see significant gains. The dark blue bars are really high and the light blue bars are really low. You do see significant increase in skills across those administration because you're teaching those skills. We also have a skills assessment. So for those students that may be beyond those foundational skills, maybe they need to be working on communication or social skills. We have a transition to adulthood scope and sequence where we have a loose developmental sequence of all the skills that kids need when they become adults. So this is one of the things that we have here that goes beyond our core skills. So we have around 235 assessment skills. And what's nice about this is that the teacher can just fill out the questionnaire. They can do it with you. They can do it with other paraprofessionals that work with that student. And then the lesson plan just pops up for them. They don't have to look for it. They don't have to do anything. They just can get it, customize it for that student, and then it can go right on into the floor so that your student can access it quickly. We also have a preference assessment module, and all this does is help the teacher find out what your student loves, right? So that how can they motivate that student in the classroom to do their best work? So that's one of the modules that they can use. And our second part, which I think is the best part, is the teaching option. So we have more than 1,800 lesson plans that grows daily on our curriculum bank, spanning from academics, communication, social skills, vocational, basically anything you can think of. If a teacher calls and said, hey, I want to teach this skill, and we don't have it, we make it for them. So we're continually growing our bank of lessons every day. And each of our, oh, that's good, that's fine, I like that, go for it. So we have 3 instructional formats depending on how your child learns. They might need to sit in a cubby with limited distractions and have repeated trials. So we have our discrete trial teaching format. We have a task analysis teaching format that breaks down very long skills into little manageable pieces. That's our task analysis teaching format. And then for those students that may actually learn better naturalistically, we have our incidental teaching formats where the teacher will. So here's some examples of our discrete trial lesson plans. We have foundational skills such as eye contact and imitation, but then we also have skills that are almost near grade level where we're looking at prepositions and time telling and how to make change. Here's some examples of our task analysis lesson format. So task analysis are usually used for like self-help, but you can also use them for pre-vocational and vocational tasks. And then we finally have our lesson formats of incidental teaching. And so these are really great to teach social skills and communication, right? So the teacher can program those naturally occurring opportunities by using these lesson plans. So when the teacher is using our lesson plans, they also can use our mobile data entry app. So a lot of the STRAND classrooms are using these now, where they can just take data on the fly with a little device, boop, boop, and then the data syncs wirelessly to the application, where it then can generate a graph so that clinicians and teachers can then look and see how the student is doing. Which parts is our evaluation part? So here's what the graphs might look like. So what we're measuring here is student independence. So we're looking at how the student's doing across sessions. And what this graph can help us see is maybe we're not making progress as much as we want, so then we can do some programmatic changes if necessary, because we want everything going up, right, to 100%. We also can track behavior. Our challenging behavior module is a misnomer. It's not always behavior that needs to decrease that you can track. You can also track increasing behaviors, like maybe increasing eye contact or increasing social greetings. But the graphs are easily generated and customizable to fit your needs. And then one of the nice things that we just did is integrated with Blackboard, so that staff now, so the ABA specialists and the teachers now have this learning center where they can find videos on how to run the ACE curriculum, how to take data, and so now they can go in here and look for any type of documentation that's going to help support them using the ACE. And in the fall, we're actually going to release a new ACE, which is going to be bigger and better and cooler. than the ACE that we have now. So it's going to be completely wireless, so all the teaching is going to be right on a device without the use of internet, which will be really nice. There'll be an offline mode so you can take data, you can look at your data sheet, and it's going to be nice for the teacher because if you go to the next slide, this is what the teacher is going to see when they pop up, when they get onto their dashboard. So what they'll see at the first sign is all the students that they need to be supervising or that they need to be working with. And what this will show them is how close the student is to meeting their yearly goal. So every day it's a very potent reminder of what they need to do for that student. And then if they click on the student name, then they're going to be able to see a very customizable web page of what the student needs to do for each of their specific objectives. So the green is awesome, the red's not so awesome, right? So it's going to give them a very potent visual reminder of the things they need to be working on and the things that they've already done. So we really love working with Boston Public Schools, and we hope this continued partnership is going to help all of your students learn more efficiently. Thanks, guys. Yes?
Okay, so where the hell has this been for my students' life?
So this is in the classroom.
We have it for students who are not just in trans.
Yes.
We have it. We're using this.
So, you can answer.
Me? We have it. So any student who's receiving applied behavior analysis services at this time has access to this tool, and we are utilizing it.
In all schools or only strand schools?
In the schools that are serviced by applied behavior analysis specialists.
Sorry, so all strand schools, this is how they're teaching, right? Now?
So that's one component of our teaching method.
Only because, okay, because I have a 9-year-old who's in a strand school from K0 all the way to now, and guys are, it's amazing of what the strand schools do, and I didn't know anything about a strand school. Being honest with you, it is.
Does it apply to inclusion schools too, kids that are getting?
Yeah, so I just want to clarify a little bit around this, and we are going to hear from the RCS in May in just a second, but this tool right now is being utilized by our internal service providers, so it is in our autism strand schools. Those are all staffed by our internal service providers, and it is in some of our inclusion schools. We're in some of the MH programs, some, but not all. Or when you say some, the intellectual disability programs. Speak with the program director at your school. If you have a BPS contact program director, then that is you'll have the ACEs with your child. But again, I just want to reiterate that our RCS and the May are going to speak about what they used with with their students through their programming. So this is a fabulous tool that we do have, but I think I just want to reiterate that they do their own programming and do a lot of the same. They make sure that their programming is systematic as well.
One more in the weeds question. So when you're in the dashboard as a teacher, and you're looking at the graph of approach to goal, how tailored can you make that to individual IEP goals?
Oh, it's tailored only to the individual IEP goal. Yeah. So that's new. So this is a new feature that we've been doing at the New England Center in-house for a variety of years, but we haven't been able to find a developer that could make it computer automated until now.
I've spent my entire career writing expert intelligence systems for banks and healthcare, and I'm stunned.
Yeah, there's some mathematical stuff. There's some work you have to do to make that graph happen.
No,
but once it happens for the whole year.
But you've done it all on mobile?
It's on a tablet.
Well, that's
yeah. So it'll be available on all platforms.
Light years ahead.
They making things.
And it's the rollout that is not yet with us yet.
It's not yet there, so that'll be in fall 2015. I just wanted to say where it was going because it's going to be so much better and so much faster and easier for people to use and then access. Yeah.
Will it log your phone out less quickly?
Yes.
You don't have to type your name in every time?
Right. Well, because there'll be that wireless option, you won't have to do that. Yeah. There'll probably still be a 20 to 30 minute at one point because it is student confidentiality. But because there's that wireless option, you can do that for a bit.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
And so also we have Dr. Marcy Handler and that's Siegel, I think, I don't know if she's here, from the May Institute. And then an RCS as well.
So I'm Jamel Dalude. I'm a BCBA and the clinical liaison for RCS. And I'm primary contact between BPS and RCS.
I'm Marcy Handler. I'm the clinical director at the May Institute for the Home and School Consultation Services that we deliver, and BPS, and Beth Siegel, who's just going to wave her hand in the back. She also assists in terms of coordinating the services that we have here specifically for this district, and oversees the supervisors and the clinicians that are delivering that in the inclusion schools that we work with. Sure. So our services parallel what you might expect in terms of the delivery of ABA services. As a foundation, both internally and with contracted services, we utilize applied behavior analysis in a systematic way with each of the children in the classrooms that we work with. In terms of that delivery, that can include individual services where we are working one-on-one with the child in this case, most of the time in the classrooms. So we're doing what's called kind of considered push-in services, where we work with the teacher closely around the objectives that are outlined in the IEP, and help with the use of a therapist. A direct therapist is what we call it, and what RCS calls it. In BPS, it's called ABA specialist. Same person. It's a person who's really assigned to deliver that direct instruction to the child they're working with. Okay? And so that individual, if your child has IEP services that indicate applied behavior specialist, and we provide that in that school, they'll have an individual assigned for what's considered kind of a time period or a block during the day, and that could range depending on what you decide in your IEP meetings. That service looks very much like the breakdown of instruction, and as determined with that goal, how can we help support that child's access to the curriculum that the teacher is providing? Is that by prompting more of the skills that they need to utilize more consistently? Is it breaking down the skills and taking data to see, okay, this time they did it with a partial prompt, next time they're going to do it more independently. What are they going to need to be successful in that endeavor? It could be through some behavior support strategies as well. We're pretty much trying to look at where your child's skills are, and then supporting that use in the environments that they might participate in. Classroom being the primary one, but certainly that could also include going to specials. It could include support during breakfast and lunch, social opportunities, recess. We love getting out there. It's been hard lately. So support during indoor break times as well is often a good social experience, and where that might be utilized. The other service that might be one that you're accessing is called a consultation service. So that essentially looks in kind of grid A of the IEP, and it might be that our behavior analysts are working with the team of teachers, speech and language, occupational therapists, to help generalize skills across environments, or to utilize, say, how does that child request more efficiently with other adults, or how do they utilize that self-regulation skill, calming techniques across all the settings that they work in, or that they not work in but participate in. So those are two of the primary services that we deliver. In a few cases, we also have services that might bridge that consult with the homes and families that we work with. And those are determined, as like any goal would be, through some specialized needs if they exist. But we could encourage, as part of the team, for example, through those consults, coming in or talking with the team chair at your school at SCSS and saying, what does that look like? How can I participate? If they're using good stuff at school, we want you to have access to that technique also through that consult. Or if you have something that says, boy, we found something that really works for my child at home, then the teachers and the ABA specialists want to hear about that as well. So sometimes that consult is designed to ask parents about that skill or that subset of skills that might be helpful too.
And like Marcy talks about, like collaboration is so important. I think the May and RCS do a really nice job of working with the program directors, working with the school BCBAs, working with the teachers. But we both really want to stress that you can come into the consults and be part of the consults because your input and just the collaboration will help your kids acquire skills so quickly if everyone on the team is doing the same thing. So we really want to encourage you guys to join our consults and come into the school meetings that we're having with the teachers and the team. Yeah, sure. So our structure is similar for both our companies, very similar actually. So we have our behavior therapists, and they're overseen by supervisors, so like our BCBAs. And then there's the role of clinical liaison, which is my role. What's that role? She's like a
coordinator.
Clinical coordinator. So that's a similar role. So we oversee all the supervisors and try to take care of that. And then there's the clinical director. And pretty much
So I get to hear about a little bit about everybody that works in the school system. But part of that, in terms of my role, is I do like to hear from parents. I get the opportunity through some IEP meetings to see how everybody kind of gels through that coordinated effort. But I also get to share that experience across multiple supervisors, multiple therapists, different types of school settings, not just BPS, but what other school districts that we work with might utilize too. So my primary responsibility is just to make sure that there's oversight in the programming, the day-to-day activities in terms of your child's program really come through the clinical supervisors.
And so it's like similar structures. I know our supervisors meet weekly with their clinical liaisons, and then the clinical liaisons also meet with the clinical directors. So this way you guys are getting multiple layers of oversight from BCBAs for your children and their goals. So there's multiple sets of eyes, kind of like Keelan and Zach were talking about.
Sure. So the ABA therapist or ABA specialist then started to say, so they're responsible really for the what's outlined in terms of the ABA program. Okay, the supervisor develops the program for your child, individualizes, essentially that's the systematic or structured lesson, if you will. How are we going to teach this skill to your child? And the therapist's responsibility is to implement those strategies. They get training as a result of that process. They get ongoing supervision to make sure the supervisor, for example, observes them delivering that instruction. They check the data that's collected. They help with the analysis of those patterns and to say, hey, is it working? Is it not working? When do we make a change? When do we progress? How do we teach this differently if that's not the case? And that therapist is also responsible, it's kind of a two-way street of informing the supervisor if something has changed about the nature of the child's responsiveness to that education. Or, boy, I see something different about their behavior. You know, help us understand. Come in and we'll take a look at that together to essentially say, what's different this week? Well, I can tell you this week is the first 5-day week that we've had since January. Right? You know, we have to be prepared for some differences, perhaps, in how the students respond to that structure again. So it's a two-way street in that, essentially in that essence. The therapists do report to our supervisors, but they have to collaborate, quite obviously, with the teachers and the professionals that are in their classrooms in the buildings. So we work a lot with them around understanding how they do that their responsibility during their ABA time is to the child that they serve, but that means coordinated efforts with what's going on in the class during that time. What's the lesson, what's the activity, and how can we facilitate participation in that activity.
And at RCS, after our staff's initial training, they also get weekly trainings. We call them group supervision. So we meet as a team. So the therapists meet as well as the supervisors. And currently we're in the process of RVT training, so registered behavior technician, and credentialing all of our therapists. And a majority of our staff are they either have their higher degrees or they're enrolled in a master's program, and all that. So getting educated.
Very similar structures that way. In fact, we're sometimes looking at the same people. Probably and going, oh, this is a good person. Are we going to get them or are we going to get them? But in BPS, I mean, the nice thing about that is it really has meant, as you heard previously, that we're getting higher caliber candidates The programs in this area are unbelievable, and it's different from other places. We have consultation services outside of New England also, and boy, it is different. So the fact that these training programs exist here certainly means that we are pulling candidates that are already interested in more advanced degrees or certificates, or are coming with that background. So that's great as a foundation, but that also doesn't preclude us from saying, you know, what else do they need? For us, we have competencies essentially outlined. What do they need to work independently with the kids that we serve? We have the ongoing initial training and ongoing training that we deliver to them, and the regular supervisions as well. So we're constantly kind of looking for that. It's interesting to have heard, you know, kind of after the autism housing representative was here about that need to be looking at the skill set. So that for us is an ongoing process. We make sure there's initial competencies, but then we supplement that with ongoing training and supervision.
And just to speak to my role a little bit more too as a clinical liaison, I'm the primary contact, and I also update any caseloads, and so I would be the person you would contact if you had any questions about any RCS services, and I can give my contact information out too if anyone has any questions. But it's been our 4th year in BPS, both MA and RCS. Currently we're in like 41 schools, and I really enjoy working with Boston and in Boston, and I love all your children.
Yeah, it's wonderful. We, in addition, we started 4 years ago at the very beginning, and to see the evolution, not as a parent, but from a service provider perspective, is really exciting. All of those features are truly happening in a way now that is really promising and really innovative and really exciting. In addition to those features, we do provide consultation services outside of BPS, and so as part of that experience, I think that for us also helps us bring in other opportunities or our parallel kind of programs to see what other people are doing. We're always kind of looking for that next research-based approach or strategy that says this is going to work for all of our kids. We're keeping up to date relative to the national standards project implemented through our school systems as well. And just as an aside, you'll talk about it in a future meeting, but our home-based services outside of BPS, it's an exciting time in Massachusetts with some insurance-based support that is coming, that it does exist through some third-party insurance and now through some in-home behavioral health services. Again, just because in comparison, other states are not all there yet. If you're interested, you can contact me at the May Institute relative to that. It's not part of BPS, but it's nice to see parents that are educated and advocating for that now, and can experience some additional supports for their kids outside of the school day.
Contact information?
Sure. So I'm M as in Marcy, Handler, HAN, D as in dog, LER, at mayinstitute.org. Do you remember that?
You have a nice easy name. Ours are a little bit longer. If anybody wants the RCS one, it would be jdulude@rcsconsulting.com.
So we can also
We
make
have
that
a
available
Facebook
to
page
everybody.
too.
Yeah, absolutely.
If they Facebook RCS, we'll be there. Yep.
Yeah, we like it.
What's the RCS one again?
Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. And we do have one more special speaker who came up from Connecticut tonight, and we didn't really leave him much time, so I really apologize about that, Glenn. But so Glenn Dobbs has created a communication device for his son, and he wanted to share his story with you all. It's pretty amazing. I saw it on the news in Connecticut, and I saw the YouTube video, and we'll share that with you by email and on our website. But it really is incredible what you've created, and you've given your son a voice. So it's please come.
Thanks,
So this is
Kristen.
Glenn.
Hi, everybody. How are you doing tonight?
All right.
All right. My name is Glenn Dobbs, and I have a son named Logan who's 17 years old, and he goes to the New England Center for Children, which is a fantastic place. He's been there since he was 8 years old. He's a residential student. At one point, we were told that he might be the most autistic kid in the state of Connecticut. So I guess, you know, there's a wide range of autism, and I think maybe I would have been diagnosed as being on the spectrum when I was a teenager. You know, I've worked long and hard to become able to stand in front of an audience and talk like this, so it's an interesting thing. A couple of things, you know, I manufacture a communication device called the Prox Talker, and we developed it specifically for Logan. But I have it here, and if you're interested in seeing it, it's really geared towards kids who are PECS users, picture communication users, that are struggling to use an iPad or a dynamic screen device, and it's a really good bridge. So if anyone's interested in seeing that afterwards, I'll be here. But I really wanted to address the community here. I'm honored to be among people who are doing the services for our students here in Massachusetts. You know, I'm a resident of Connecticut, and my wife and I live in Woodbury, Connecticut, which is about 3 hours from Boston, and we actually had to be a strong advocate for our son to get the services that he needed. And one of the challenges is to identify what your child needs, and then to communicate that correctly to the people in the school. Now, the people in the school will know that your child has needs, and you know your child has needs, but you really have to kind of be an advocate to push to get the needs met sometimes. We actually had to fight tooth and nail to get our son the ABA therapy that he needed, to get him the speech therapy that he needed, and so forth. And you know, we were told no a lot, and it was a bit adversarial at times. Ultimately, we wound up getting Logan exactly what he needed, which was residential placement at the New England Center for Children, which is a real heartbreaker if your child isn't living with you in the home. But you know, we have a daughter whose life was being affected, and I wanted to sort of throw this out at you. You know, there's a lot of aspects to working with autism. There's the autistic child with autism, there's the family members, your marriage, your relationships, the community. There's a lot of dimensions to this. You have to take all this into account as you make all the decisions that you have to make. But the one thing I want you to take away from my talk tonight is that you have to be the advocate for your child, and you have to ask for the things that are needed. But you also have to collaborate with the team. And the PPT meeting and the IEP process is a really great process. It's supposed to be there to get everybody under the same roof. It can also be a way to kind of go through challenges that you might be facing. And I think in Connecticut, I know it's a law. I think it's a law in Massachusetts also, that you can call a PPT meeting anytime you want. So you know, I want to make sure you all know that. And that's something you can do. And somebody asked a question about ABA services, and you know, are all our kids getting that? A lot of times, it's a matter of knowing that you might need a BCBA on your PPT team. Sometimes, you know, it's a matter of nobody told you that, or you know, you didn't know that was necessary. But you know, you really want to kind of find out as much as you can, and you're all here to find out information. And you may know people that maybe couldn't come here because their kids too challenging at home, or there's a lot of challenges, everybody's working and all that. But that's really my main message today, is that, you know, I want to talk about my product on one level, but I also really wanted to talk to the parents and my story. You know, it was a long story, and we don't have a lot of time, so I don't want to keep you all here later. But my email is glenn@proxtalker.com, proxtalker.com, and I'll hand out some pens that have the website on it. Oh. There's also an info@proxtalker.com, and I always love to talk to parents. So that's it. Thank you, Kristen, for having me. I don't want to take any more time.
We're going to raffle off the ABA basket. If you do not get a raffle ticket, raise your hand and I will take it. Yeah. And Nicole can tell us a little bit about what's in there. I didn't leave her much time. got one? You got one?
If anyone needs a ticket, just let Krista know. Whoever wins this, I'll spend more time with you. What this is I have a son, Jaden, who is 8, and he has autism and sensory input disorder. And I first got his diagnosis right before he turned 2. And back then, I didn't know anything about autism. And so what I did is it's accumulation of 6 years of all the different tools and everything that all his therapists gave me. And I feel I want to give back to other parents so that they don't have to go through what I went through, and they'll have tools to help them. So I'm going to try and do this really quick, just to give you an idea of what the different things are. And with Jaden with autism, he's really visual, so it's better if he can see things. And one of the things that we use is a schedule, and it just lets him know. And he also has trouble with transitioning. So this lets him know what's going to happen next. And this would be like a schedule at nighttime, like brush your teeth, take a bath, read a story, go to bed. So as you do one thing, you take it off, and then they know to do the next thing. And there's over 70 pictures that I'm going to give to the person so that you can use. So this is one thing, a schedule that we use. And another thing, really quick, Jaden has problems. Sometimes he doesn't listen, he likes to hit, or he likes to scream and yell. So we have this board which has good listening, gentle hands, and a regular voice. So if he's able to do all of this, he'll earn a star. Like each time that I see he's doing something, he will earn a star. And depending on the child, you decide how many stars he's going to work towards. And once he gets the required stars, then he gets to get a prize. So this is another tool that I use. Another thing is in school that I use with his teacher. Sometimes he has trouble following rules at school. So his teacher created a contract, and basically it's a contract between the child and the teacher saying that he will follow the rules, and if he follows the rules, he can get a prize at the end of the day. And if he makes a mistake, that's okay. He can have another chance because our child's never going to be perfect, but we don't give them 2 or 3 chances. So what happens at the end of the day, if he followed all the rules, then he would have a happy face, which means that he was able to follow all the rules and he could get a prize. If he didn't, he would get a sad face. So when he came home with this, and if there was a happy face, I knew that he had a good day at school and he would get a prize. But my child is very smart. On the bus, he would always get the prize. So what the teacher did, we have a communication log that's in his IEP, so every day I get a note home. She would end the note with a happy or sad face, so that I would know whether or not he actually had a good day. And another thing, and I'm sorry to rush. Another thing is called the first then board. And what this does is, you can use this for a lot of things. Let's say if your child has trouble sharing. I have 2 little ones that fight all the time. So I use this, which would be a picture of my son as a boy and a picture of my daughter. And I would say it's first Jaden's turn, and then maybe in 5 minutes it'll be Janae's turn. You can be creative with this. You can use actual pictures of your child, or in this bag there's pictures that say first my turn, then your turn. And I also use this as a tool for, Jaden will always want to play instead of not coming to eat. So there would be a picture that would say first eat, then play, and that you have to keep redirecting them to this. And sorry, there's tons of things in here that I'm trying to get through all of them. Another thing we have is communication is key. A lot of times as parents, our first instincts, if our child is misbehaving, we're going to scream at them like, don't run, don't jump, no hitting. And what you're doing is the child is actually concentrating on the negative word, so it's kind of reinforcing that. So what you want to do is, instead of using a negative word, use a positive. So for instance, this says stop climbing. Instead of saying stop climbing, you would say keep your feet on the floor. Or instead of saying don't touch, you would say keep your hands down. So this is a little cheat sheet that teaches you what to say instead of using the negative words. Is anyone familiar with social stories? Okay, and basically what social stories uses simple sentences, it's short, and pictures to teach a child something or prepare them for something. This social story, my son has a hard time transitioning from one grade to the next grade. So towards the end of the year, he'll go into the classroom and meet the teacher in the classroom that he's going to be in.
So we created a social story to prepare him for the next grade. And basically it says, I will be visiting Miss Moran's room. I'm only visiting Miss Moran's class this year. In September, I will be in Miss Moran's class all day. I will have fun in Miss Moran's class and I'll be learning new things. So this is short to the point and has pictures, and we read this over the summer to prepare him. And so that's what you would use a social story if you're trying to prepare your child for something or you want to teach them something. This is really quick, visual calendar. A lot of times children have a hard time, like, we're going on vacation next month or 2 weeks, well, what does that really mean? You can use a visual calendar. For instance, this is December. If you were counting down for Christmas, every day you would put an X, and then the child, and at Christmas you would have like a Christmas tree or present, so they know as it's getting closer that Christmas would be coming. And you don't have to start this on the 1st. You can start, if you start it on like the 16th, you would just put X's to the 16th and then start every day. This is a breakdown of a schedule. For this one, it's a toothbrush. Normally with autistic children, you can't say go in the bathroom and brush your teeth. Well, what does that mean? You have to break everything down to them step by step. And so this, what this does is it breaks it down, like get the toothbrush, wet the toothbrush, get the toothpaste, open up the cap, put toothpaste on it. So the child is able to know, okay, this is what you want me to do. So I'm supposed to take the toothpaste off and so forth. So that's what this does. And this is kind of a strip of what I did for this one. It breaks it down to morning, after school, and night. Like you could always cut it out, and it just shows them pictures of a schedule of what they're expected to do. This tool right here is, you can use it as a timer. Some kids like the actual timer where it ticks and they hear the buzz. Or you can do this one, and like if you say 5 more minutes, you take the 5 off, 4 more minutes, and so forth. And that's what this can be used for. Or what I also use this for is, this little thing can be used for several things. A lot of times I used to not bring my child in the store because it was a complete nightmare. He would have a meltdown. I got tired of explaining to people in the store, like my child has autism, or ignoring them, or wanting to swear in front of my child. So what I use this for is I take pictures from a flyer, like Stop and Shop or whatever, and laminate them, and then put the pictures on here. And so what Jaden does is there'll be like a picture of milk, eggs, bread, or whatever, and so he'll know, okay, we're going to get milk, okay, we're going to get bread. So he's focused on this, and he's not worried about his other surroundings. The only thing that I caution is Jaden is very literal. So if we had milk and bread, like he would have to get the next thing. So if I could be on this aisle and I have to go all the way to that aisle. So just be careful when you do that. Just all over the place. And so, and I apologize for going through this really quick, but we're short on time. Whoever gets this, I will leave you my information, and I can speak with you afterwards to give, to go into more detail on how to effectively use these. But these things are just things that I use, and I found that helped me tremendous throughout my journey with autism. And there's over 70 different pictures.
We also have it online from last year's presentation as well.
And if there's anyone who doesn't win the raffle, but you are interested in learning more about a particular thing, I'd be more than happy to talk to you and work with you.
Well, if no one wins it, can I have it? I'll use it. Well, let's see if you win it.
I mean, and we can always do this again. I don't want to please.
You don't want to do
that?
But my daughter uses it in school. This is what she uses in school. All right, here's the number.